Hey there, welcome to the Personal Finance Chad. I am Chad. This is the first in a four-part series where we're going to take you through maybe your first foray into savings, up into managing that account, and then into retirement where you take that money out. Just looking at some of the comments in some videos, and just in general, really, financial education is quite lacking. And maybe I can give you guys a, if you're interested. A lot of you probably already know this stuff. It's nothing earth-shattering or anything like that, but just a primer on how to handle this, and some quick thoughts on it. Where the public schools kind of failed and didn't teach you this stuff, we can catch you up pretty quick if you are so inclined. And so again, four parts to this series. The first part is today, saving and goal setting. It all starts with that. That's your foundation. Nothing else matters if you're not saving and kind of identifying that goal to make sure you're on track, saving enough and not saving too much. Tomorrow's not promised to anybody, so you don't want to overdo it. And there's some people that are very eager and get caught on that. Part two, we'll try and do this weekly here. Savings vehicles. All right, you're saving. Where do you save? What are the taxable options? IRAs, Roth versus traditional 401ks, same thing. Part three, diversification and rebalancing. All right, these are two things that are pretty easy to do, but aren't done often enough. So I've seen some accounts come in that are pretty horrifying. It's like if you would have just done something, decades ago, you'd be in a much better spot here. And withdrawal options. Mostly this happens when you're in retirement. How do you create a stream of income to last you the rest of your life while you're not working anymore here? So cut to the first part here. Step one is cut a hole in the box. Wait a second. It's a different presentation. Let's pretend we never saw that, okay? So, no, honestly, the first thing that people do to save for themselves, whether you like it or not or realize it or not, maybe it's some sort of savings account when you're a kid, but when you get that first paycheck, even before money goes into your 401k, money is going to go into the Social Security Disability Income Fund, old age and old age security disability income is the OSDI. You see that on your check. You won't see it in that direction. So, it's not uncommon for people to say, I've got Social Security, I'm good. You're not good, most likely, and the reason for that right now is the fund has been rated over the years for all sorts of pet projects, and now whatever comes in gets spent out for the most part almost immediately. You can see this in the incoming and the outgoing sections here. If you go down to the year of trust fund depletion, all this information is off the SSA.gov website. It looks like we've got about 15 years before this thing is gone, right? What'll happen in the interim is there are things that they can do in the interim. They can raise the wage cap. You pay Social Security on the first, what is it, 125, 130,000. They can raise that cap. So if you're making more than that, you pay into the fund. Right on the statements, it says we can reduce benefits commensurately if we don't have the money to pay it as well. So if you are youngish and you're counting on $30,000, $40,000, because that's what your statement says, a lot could happen to make that not the case. So what I'm saying is don't rely on these programs, the government. You're putting 13% of your pay in there between you and your employer. I would trust you with that more. And in that vein, take care of yourself. And the way to do that is to just start early. Don't worry about if you get anything from these government programs, gravy, right? You paid into it. So if you're expecting anything, but if it's not there, it's not there, right? So since this is a card channel, we'll put it into a little bit of card terms here. So starting early is key. Willy Adames and Bo Bichette, a couple of shortstops. Why are we paying more for Bo Bichette? Well, he's a better player, right? But it's a lot closer than you think. If you just look at the numbers, weighted runs created, if you look at their wins above replacement last year, fairly similar. Bo Bichette has the edge, but it's not as wild as you would believe since coming over to the Brewers. I mean, Adames was the top, two or three shortstop for the season, even better than Bichette down the stretch. So that first part kind of held him back. The reason that we're paying more for Bichette is the long-term potential and the upside. He's 23 years old. Willy Adames, 26 years old. Their trajectories, Hall of Fame-wise, look pretty good here. So this blue line is the Hall of Fame track of all the Hall of Famers at the shortstop position. The ones above replacement they had at a certain age or year in the leagues. Really, it's not by age. You can see, then they kind of get that 60 mark and cruise. You've seen, if you've watched my Hall of Fame tracker series, you've seen this, all right? So Bo Bichette is on that line, tracking well with the Hall of Famer. Willy Adames' trajectory looks really good, but since he got a late start, he is behind the ball a little bit, and so people will pay for this. They will not pay for this, despite the fact those trajectories are kind of similar. So starting early is hugely beneficial in baseball and in real life as well. So here is an example of two different people, and they save the same amount. They just start at different times. The blue line is the person that started at age 20, saved $5,000 every year until age 30, and then stopped saving. That was it. They let the money grow, and we're using an assumed interest rate, the rate of return of 8%. And you can see what happens to this line. It curves upwards. It keeps growing. Same trajectory as the orange line here. But there are a couple of distinct differences. Again, getting those things going early is a big deal. If there's interest on wins above replacement early on, then some of these guys will look really, really good. But you need to do it every year. So that blue line, starting at 20, starting at $35,000 a year, then stopping, at an 8% rate of return, $1.2 million, or just above that. The orange is someone starting at age $35,000 a year and doing it every year up until age 65. Okay, so there's a big difference in there. So they have $1 million, not too bad, right? But this person right here, they put in a grand total of like $50,000 and then did nothing. This person right here for 35 years, do the math on that. You're putting in what, 180 or something like that thousand, quite a bit more. The money just doesn't have time to season, doesn't have time for compound interest to work, which is the most powerful force in the universe, a wise man once said here. So starting early, you have this difference in money. That's the obvious one. But also during this period, they didn't have to save anything additional. If you're starting at 20 and you're saving like that, you probably are, but you didn't have to. And so they had an extra $5,000 in each of these years to do whatever with, versus the person with the orange trajectory here. So again, most powerful force in the universe. So if you don't believe me, at least take it from Albert Einstein. Get started as soon as you can, okay? Goal setting, I'm covering up the goal part of it. But it says goal setting here. So it's very important that when you start saving, you at least think. You don't have to get it perfect or anything. At least think about what this is going for, all right? It's kind of like Google directions, Google Maps or whatever. You're driving and then there's like, oh, there's an accident, take this detour. It's fine, but at least you're headed in the right directions. Things change. And the more that you've saved, the more that you have kind of in the bank, the less that these things are going to affect you when stuff comes up. I need a new roof. I need this, that, or whatever. It's like if you have it saved and you've got that buffer, the less these things matter. So let's take the what was it, the blue line? Yeah, the first one. The person that was saving $5,000 annually from age 20 to age 30, growing at an assumed 8%, they'll have $1.2 million. Sustainable withdrawal rate. So these are numbers that people have done studies on them. It's somewhere around 4% or something like that. That's what you should be able to take out with really making your money last longer than you for the most part. Some people too concerned with outliving their money. Maybe they want to bounce their last check or whatever. But I think most people would like to get through retirement, living off of their money and having something to pass on. That's fine. That's all well and good. At that assumed withdrawal rate, you're taking out $50,000 a year without disturbing this number too terribly, okay? Let's say you weren't able to start at age 20, or let's say you started at 20, you wanted to do more than $5,000. All right, let's say we did $10,000 annually from age 20 to age 60. At 8%, you'd have $4.4 million by age 65. 4.27 million, well, call it 4.4. At 4.2%, you're talking about $180,000, something like that, okay? You're doing really well for yourself. So the more you save early, especially, the better off you are down the road. All right, starting at 20, maybe not the most realistic thing in the world. People are still in college for the most part. But by 30, you should be able to tuck away some money. So if you did that $7,000 annually, and we'll talk about the limits on what you can do in the next video here. So what are the contribution limits for some of these various instruments? But if you did $7,000 annually instead of $5,000 from age 30 to age 65 at that 8% rate of return, you'd have $1.4 million at age 65. 4.2% withdrawal rate, looking at about $60,000 a year. Combine that with Social Security, you could have yourself a nice retirement. It depends. I mean, if you're living right now off of $200,000, it doesn't look that great. If you're living right now off of $60,000, you've replaced that income fairly effectively. And you can work this backwards. I just do this on an Excel spreadsheet, but you can go to all sorts of online calculators, and they do a terrific job, and they'll show you this graphically as well. And the way that I would do it is start thinking about what kind of income do I need to replace. If I'm making $80,000 a year or $100,000 a year or whatever it is, I want to be able to replace that for the most part, because once you get into retirement, you're going to have more free time, right? You're going to free time is expensive. Medicare or Medicaid, you're going to have medical expenses, all those good things. And so your income is not really going to change. Your income needs aren't going to really change too much. So say if I needed $100,000 or making $100,000, I want to replace that $100,000 in retirement and keep it going. And there's a lot of options within there, but just to kind of keep it simple, then I know that 4%, that withdrawal rate of $2.5 million is $100,000. So I need to get to $2.5 million. I'd go to one of these calculators or put something into Excel and say, all right, if I save this at this age, at this amount, annually, what is it going to take for me to get to that $2.5 million level so I can have this safe withdrawal rate? So kind of how I would work it backwards a little bit. You don't have to do anything terribly fancy, that's for darn sure. But I think it is important to do that. So hopefully this gets you a decent thought to kind of get things going. We'll get a little bit more, not into the weeds or anything. That'll still be pretty simple stuff. But we'll talk about, all right, where does this money go, how to rebalance, diversify, and then how to take it out over the next couple of videos. So hope you enjoy. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.